The Hunt class was a class of escort destroyer of the Royal Navy. The first vessels were ordered early in 1939, and the class saw extensive service in the Second World War, particularly on the British East Coast and Mediterranean convoys. They were named after British fox hunts. The contemporary Hunt class of GRP-hulled mine countermeasure vessels maintain the Hunt name's lineage in the Royal Navy. History. The Royal Navy had identified the need for two types of destroyer: larger vessels with heavy gun and torpedo armaments for fleet work, and another type for escort duties. Although old fleet destroyers could be allocated to escort work as new construction replaced them, they were unsuitable for the task. Fleet destroyers were designed for speed, and the machinery was inefficient at convoy speeds, reducing the range. The shape made them poor sea boats at low speed, also exacerbated by additional equipment on the superstructure. Modifications were needed to ease these problems. The escort vessels forsook the heavy armament and some of the speed of the fleet type to reduce unit cost and better suit mass production and the conditions. This new, fast escort vessel was later classified as an escort destroyer. 86 hunts were completed, of which 72 were commissioned into the Royal Navy, and the remaining 14 were transferred to Allied navies Bulbrick, Border, Catterick, Hatherley, Modbury, Bramham and Hursley to the Greek Royal Hellenic Navy, Bedale, Oakley and Silverton to the Free Polish Navy, Gleisel, Eskdale and Badsworth to the Royal Norwegian Navy, and Halden to the Free French Navy. Design. The Hunts were modelled on the 1938 escort sloop Bittern, a 262-foot ship of 1,190 tons with 3,300 shp on geared turbines for 18 3/4 knots and an armament of 3 twin Mark 19 mounts for the QF 4-inch gun Mark 16. The guns were controlled by a fuse-keeping clock, a fire control computer when engaging aircraft. The Hunt class was to ship the same armament, plus a quadruple QF 2-pounder mount Mark 7 on a hull of the same length but with 8 feet less beam and installed power raised to 19,000 shp to give 27 knots. The first 20 were ordered in March and April 1939. They were constructed to Admiralty standards, as were contemporary destroyers, unlike the frigates which conformed much more to mercantile practice. Clearly the Hunts posed a major design challenge. They would be too short and narrow and of insufficient range for open ocean work, being restricted to the North Sea and Mediterranean Sea. This sacrifice was accepted to give any chance of meeting the requirements. The demanding specifications in an overworked Admiralty design department resulted in a major design miscalculation. When the detailed calculations were done, the center of gravity was lower than expected and the beam was increased. As the first ships were being completed, it was found that the design was as much as 70 tons overweight, top-heavy, leaving them dangerously deficient in stability. The first 20 ships were so far advanced in construction that it was necessary to remove the X 4-inch mount and add 50 tons of permanent ballast. These ships became the Type 1 group and had the multiple 2-pounder gun relocated from behind the funnel to the more advantageous X position. The design deficiency of the Type 1 was rectified by splitting the hulls lengthwise and adding a 2.5-foot section, increasing the beam to 31 feet 6 in and the margin of stability sufficiently for the designed armament to be shipped. These ships became the Type 2 group and also had a revised design of bridge with the compass platform extending forwards to the wheelhouse face. Under the 1939 Emergency War Program, 36 more Hunts had been ordered. 3 of these were completed to the original design. Depth charge stowage could also be increased from 40 in the Type 1 to 110. For the 1940 building program, torpedoes were deemed necessary. The next 27 ships were completed to a revised design, the Type 3 group, and were intended specifically for Mediterranean work. They sacrificed Y gun for a pair of 21-inch torpedo tubes amidships, the searchlight being displaced to the aft sheltered deck as a result. The Type 3 hunts could be easily identified as they had a straight funnel with a sloping top and the foremast had no rake. 14 of them had the stabilizer fins removed and the space used for extra fuel oil. The last 2 hunts came from an independent lineage and were built to a private design that had been prepared pre-war by John I. Thornycroft and Amp Company, submitted to the Admiralty and rejected in 1938. A modified design had been accepted in 1940. They were known as the Type 4. They had a novel hull design, with a U-shaped forward section with a distinctive double knuckle and a full center section with a square turn at the bilge. This form was intended to increase low-speed efficiency and reduce rolling without the need for ballast to stabilizers to improve the ship's gun platforms. Testing showed an 8% increase in steaming efficiency at 20 knots for a 2% loss full ahead. Other features included a long FOCSLE stretching for most of the length of the ship, which increased internal accommodation space and allowed the crew to fight the ship almost completely undercover. As a result, X-gun was now at the FOCSLE deck level rather than on a raised sheltered deck. The design was large enough to carry a triple set of torpedoes, but as they too were at FOCSLE deck level, the training apparatus had to be remotely mounted a deck below. Armament was completed by a pair of single 20mm Alicon guns in the bridge wings and a pair of power-operated twin 0.5-INCH Vickers machine guns. Amidships, quickly discovered to be ineffective and replaced by the Mark V twin mounting for the Alicon gun. The level of protection afforded to the crews in these 2 ships was found to be beneficial in wartime, where crews were often closed up at action stations for extended periods of time in appalling weather conditions. And the design, although it was something of a dead end, heavily influenced post-war escort designs. All Hunt class except 3 Type 2 and the Type 4 bristled and had fin stabilizers forward to reduce rolling to make for a steadier gun platform. These were subsequently removed from the majority of the Type 3 ships to allow for an increase in bunkerage of 63 tons. Modifications. The Hunt class was a very satisfactory design, but had limited surplus displacement to allow any major modifications. All ships had a pair of single Alicon guns added in the bridge wings as they became available, and radar Type 285 added to the rangefinder director Mark I carried on the bridge for the main armament. The air warning radar Type 286 was added at the masthead, later replaced by Type 291, and Cotswold, Silverton, Bleasdale and Wensleydale had the searchlight replaced by radar Type 272, a centimetric target indication set. Those vessels employed on East Coast convoy work. All the Type is the Type 2's Avon Vale, Blencathra and Liddesdale, and the Type 3's Bleasdale and Glaisdale were fitted with a single QF 2-pounder bow chaser gun for anti-E-boat work. Most Type 3s later had the single Alicon guns replaced with twin-powered mountings Mark V, and some had 2 single 40mm Bofors guns added, 1 each forward of the wheelhouse and on the quarterdeck. Type 1. The first 10 of the following were ordered on the 21st of March 1939, and the other 10 of the 11th of April 1939. 3 more were ordered on the 4th of September 1939 were intended to be of Type 2, but were actually completed to the Type 1 design. Athelstan builder, camel-led, Birkenhead laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off October 1945 and broken up the 25th of November 1957. Berkeley builder, camel-led, Birkenhead laid down, launched, completed, Fate, bombed during the jet raid the 19th of August 1942. Catterstock builder, Jarrow, Scotstoun laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off the 26th of March 1946, and broken up the 2nd of July 1957. Cleveland builder, Jarrow, Scotstoun laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off September 1945, sold to be broken up 1957, but wrecked en route to the scrapyard. Eglinton builder, Vickers Armstrong Tyne, laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off 1945 and broken up 28th of May 1956. Exmoor builder, Vickers Armstrong Tyne laid down, launched, completed, Fate, sunk by E-boat S-30 off Lowest Oft the 25th of February 1941. Fernie builder, John Brown and Amp Company, Clydebank laid down, launched, completed, Fate, aircraft target ship August 1945 to 1947. Paid off 1947 and broken up the 7th of November 1956. Garth builder, John Brown and Amp Company, Clydebank, laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off December 1945 and broken up the 15th of August 1958. Hambledon builder, Swan Hunter Wallsend laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off December 1945 and broken up the 4th of February 1958. Holderness builder, Swan Hunter Wallsend laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off the 20th of May 1946 and broken up the 20th of November 1956. Cotswold builder, Jarrow, Scotstoun laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off the 29th of June 1946 and broken up the 11th of September 1957. Cottesmore builder, Jarrow Shipbuilders, Scotstoun laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off the 28th of February 1946. Sold to Egypt in 1950 as Ibrahim El Awal, renamed Muhammad Ali El Kabir in 1951, scrapped. Mendip builder, Swan Hunter Wallsend laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off the 20th of May 1946. Sold to Nationalist China 1947 and renamed Lin Fu, seized prior to delivery and resold 1949 to Egypt as Muhammad Ali El Kabir, renamed Ibrahim El Awal in 1951. Captured by Israel on 31 October 1956 and commissioned as INS Haifa, decommissioned 1968, used as training target and sunk by Gabriel missile. Main L builder, Swan Hunter Wallsend laid down, launched, completed, Fate, aircraft target ship the 11th of September 1945 to December 1946, when paid off. Sold to Ecuador 1954 and renamed Presidente Velasco Ibarra, 5 May 1978, stricken and broken up. Pychley builder, Scots Greenock laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off August 1946 and broken up 1 December 1956. Quantic builder, Scots Greenock laid down, launched, completed, Fate, paid off December 1945. Sold to Ecuador 1954 and renamed Presidente Alfaro. Quorn builder, J. Samuel White Cows laid down, launched, completed, Fate, sunk by a Linson explosive motorboat off the Normandy beaches during the D-Day invasion, 2 August 1944. South Down builder, J. Samuel White Cows laid down, Launched, completed. Fate aircraft target ship, the 8th of September 1945 to 1946. Paid off the 22nd of May 1946, and broken up the 1st of November 1956. Tyndale builder, Stevens, Lindhouse, laid down, launched, completed. Fate, sunk by the German submarine U-593 on the 12th of December 1943. Wilden builder, Stevens, Lindhouse, laid down, launched, completed. Fate, paid off October 1945 and broken up the 5th of April 1959. Type 2. 18 were ordered on the 4th of September 1940 and 2 more on the following day. 3 of these were completed to the Type 1 specification, Blankney, Blencathra and Brocklesby. A final batch of 16 were ordered on the 20th of December 1939. Avon Vale, John Brown, Clydebank. Blankney, John Brown, Clydebank. Blencathra, Camel Laird, Birkenhead. Brocklesby, Camel Laird, sold and scrapped in 1968. Chiddingfold, sold to the Indian Navy, commissioned as Insganga in 1953. Scrapped circa 1975. Cowdrey, scrapped 1959. Croom, scrapped 1957. Dulverton, lost the 13th of November 1943. Berridge, sold for scrap 1946. Farndale, scrapped at Blythe on the 4th of December 1962. Haythorpe, lost the 20th of March 1942. Lamerton, sold to Indian Navy, commissioned as Insgamati in 1953. Liddesdale, Vickers Armstrongs, Tyne, Boo 1948. Oakley, to the Polish Navy as Kujawiak. Puckeridge, lost the 6th of September 1943, by U-boat U-617. 129 crew rescued. Silverton, to the Polish Navy as Krakowiak. Wheatland, scrapped 1959. Wilton, Jarrow, Scottstoun. Lauderdale, Ledbury, scrapped in 1958. Badsworth, to the Royal Norwegian Navy as Arundel. Beaufort, sold to Norway 1956. Scrapped in 1965. Bedale, to the Polish Navy as Slazak, reverted to Royal Navy, and sold to Indian Navy, commissioned as Insgadavri in 1953. Bicester, scrapped 1956. Blackmore, to the Royal Danish Navy in 1954 as Esbern Snare. Scrapped 1966. Bramham, to the Royal Hellenic Navy as Themistocles. Kalp, to the Royal Danish Navy in 1954 as Rolf Craig. Scrapped 1966. Exmoor, to the Royal Danish Navy in 1954 as Valdemar Sejr. Scrapped 1966. Grove, lost the 12th of June 1942. Hursley, to the Royal Hellenic Navy as Critty. Haworth, lost the 22nd of October 1943. Middleton, scrapped 1958. Oakley, begun as Tickham and renamed. Sold in 1958 to West Germany where she served as the Gneisenau and was broken up in 1972. Southwold, lost the 24th of March 1942. Malta convoy MW-10, Zonky Point, Malta. Tetcott, scrapped 1957. Zetland, alone to Norway 1952. Sold to Norway in 1956. Scrapped in 1965. Type 3. Airedale, J. Brown, lost June 1942 after aerial attack. Albrighton, J. Brown, to Federal German Navy in 1959 as RAL. Aldenham, Camel Laird, mine December 1944. Beaver, Camel Laird, Blean, Hawthorne Leslie, lost December 1942, torpedoed by U-443. Bleasdale, Vickers Armstrongs, Bolebrook, Swan Hunter, transferred to Greece as Pindos. Border, Swan Hunter, transferred to Greece as Adrias, written off after mined October 1943. Catterick, Vickers Armstrongs, bought by Greece in 1946 as Hastings. Derwent, Vickers Armstrongs, written off after torpedoed by aircraft March 1943. Easton, White, Eggsford, White, sold to Federal German Navy in 1959 as Brommy. Eskdale, Camel Laird, transferred to Royal Norwegian Navy, torpedoed by E-boat April 1943. Glaisdell, Camel Laird, transferred to Royal Norwegian Navy, bought by Norway 1946 as Narvik. Gothland, Fairfield, written off after mine July 1944. Halden, Fairfield, transferred to Free French as Le Combattant, mine February 1945. Atherley, Vickers Armstrongs, transferred to Greece as Canaris. Hayden, Vickers Armstrongs. Holcomb, Stevens, torpedoed by U-593 on 12 December 1943. Limborn, Stevens, torpedoed by T-22 October 1943. Melbrake, Swan Hunter. Modbury, Swan Hunter, transferred to Greece as Miaulus. Penellan, Vickers Armstrongs, torpedoed by E-boat December 1942. Rockwood, Vickers Armstrongs, written off after hit by a Henschel HS-293 glider bomb November 1943. Stevenston, White. Talibot, White. Tanatsai, Jarrow, bought by Greece 1946 as Adrias. Wensleydale, Jarrow, written off after collision November 1944. Type 4. These very distinct vessels were built to a radically different private design by Thornycroft at Southampton, ordered on 28 July 1940. Brecon laid down, launched, completed. Fate, paid off 4 December 1945 and broken up on 17 September 1962 at Fislane. Brissenden laid down, launched, completed. Fate, paid off 19 June 1948 and broken up on 3 March 1965 at Dalmuir. Bibliography. College, J. J. Warlow, Ben. Ships of the Royal Navy. The complete record of all fighting ships of the Royal Navy. London, Chatham Publishing. ISBN 9781861762818. OCLC 67,375,475. The Hunts, A History of the Design, Development and Careers of the 86 destroyers of this class built for the Royal and Allied Navies during World War II. John English, World Ship Society, 1987, ISBN 0-90561744-4. Destroyers of the Royal Navy, 1893–1981. Morris Cocker, Ian Allen, ISBN 0-7110-1075-7. Royal Navy destroyers since 1945. Leo Marriott, Ian Allen, ISBN 0-7110-18170. Convoys, All the World's Fighting Ships, 1922–1946, ed. Robert Gardner, Naval Institute Press, ISBN 0-87021-9138. Destroyers of World War II. An International Encyclopedia, M. J. Whitley. Arms and Armor Press, 1999, ISBN 185409-5218. Nelson to Vanguard, D. K. Brown, Chatham Publishing, 2000, ISBN 186176136-8. British Empire Warships of the Second World War, H. T. Lenton, Greenhill Books, ISBN 1853672777. Ireland, Bernard. Battle of the Atlantic. Barnsley, UK. Naval Institute Press. ISBN 9781591140320.